Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. It's going to be 4v4 ladder action this afternoon, despite the custom 4v4 mistake there in the scrolling text at the bottom. I don't know how that happened. I do know how it happened. I didn't check when I wrote it, and then I thought later I should probably correct myself. So that's what I did, and now here. I'm only wasting time talking about it. It's going to go down on a map called Virmire, which I'm reliably informed via Google, because I check these things for little references that I might have missed. It's something to do with Mass Effect. So there we go. And yes, that ship did completely miss me, sailed past me gleefully. I don't know, something about the aesthetic, it just never appealed. Shocking, I know it is. I don't want to actually offend any Mass Effect fans, although it's probably too late for that. But anyway, there's no news, so we can get on with today's game. As we said, it's 4v4, and it's going down on Virmire. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching, ka-ching. Instant loading, that's what we'd like to see. We'll call this Team 1 over here on the left, because why not? And this Team 2 over here on the right, going first for Team 1 way up north. On the top left island, it's H-Master, who for some reason I always glance at too quickly and read as Hamster. He's gone Cybran, bless him, maybe that's why. In Cyanide Cyan, opening first land, and his teammate on the same island up in the northwest with him, it's Not Sulfur 1, and he is going UEF in Fabulous Vivacious Violet, opening first land. And the other two members of Team 1 down here at the bottom left in Electric Blue, and you can immediately see where this is going, it's Sulfur. So that's going to make my life a little bit difficult for casting this game, because people have nothing better to do than do these sorts of things and hope a caster picks it up and then has to struggle through. So thank you for that. Of course, it's nothing to do with me. Just making myself sound more important than I am. Anyway, he's going UEF as well in an Electric Blue, opening first land. And his teammate over here on the right, also in Baby Blue, also a Sulfur. It's not Sulfur. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. So I guess we can have Sulfur, Not, and Not for short. Just, it's going to be awful. But anyway, here he is. He's another UEF. He's going Baby Blue. He's opening first land. Okay. I mean, you know, I could call them Dave and Phil, but then I'll forget who's who. So I'm probably not going to do that. Let's check out Team 2 now. Going down here, first of all, because why not? At the bottom right-hand corner, it's another UEF, this time in Mellow Yellow. Opening first land, going second air. It's Nor York 9. Anyway, and his teammate on the bottom right island, it's a Tag. We don't see many tags around these days. Every now and again, Tag Rock, and I say every now and again, every 6 months to a year or something, he'll pop his head into chat. I don't know if he actually gets around to playing any games, but we used to see tags everywhere, and now they are just a remnant, a figment of our memory. Tag stands for Total Annihilation's Gods, one of the original old-school clans that used to play right the way back in the GPG days, and was actually a big part of FAF for a long time in the early days as well. Anyway, here he is. He's going first land in Halib Orange, opening first land. That is orange, by the way, up against this bloom-ridden green. It kind of appears peach, but no, that's definitely orange. And the last two players for Team 2, it's the two reds up here right at the top. Ferrari Red, first of all, and going UEF again, opening first land, second air. It's Zigster, and paired up with him on this northeastern island, it's another UEF. I hope he finds what he's looking for. It's MILF Hunter. There he is. And he's going to get the winner of this week's Amusing Name Award, because there's nothing funny about people naming themselves Sulfur, Not Sulfur, and Not Sulfur. That will never be funny, no matter how many times you try it, guys. So MILF Hunter's getting that award today, and he's opening first land in Burgundy Red. So there we have it. Game quality at 99%. We're pretty happy with that. That's because it is, of course, a team ladder affair. So the balancing has been done for us. 1396 versus 1416. It's about as close as it can get. 3 UEFs and a Cybran on Team 1, and 3 UEFs and an Aeon on Team 2. What are we looking at in terms of map? Because I think this is a brand new one for Guilecast. We have a central island, of course, tons and tons of water. So you've got to figure that Navy is going to feature pretty heavily, and we already have our first naval yard constructed over here right at the top of the screen for H Master, and he's working on a frigate as we speak. What's the reclaim picture like? Well, that's not that heavy actually to look at things. We've got lots of kind of 10s dotted around, but it's not very heavy on concentration. We do have one or two bigger rocks kicking about, a 75 there, one or two other ones around strewn on some beaches. We do have some proper wrecks over here from T2 vessels marooned up on the sands there, 810 mass a piece, one there and one indeed on each beach by the looks of things, with some other rocks kicking around. But it's got to be said, for a 20 by 20 map, that is not a huge quantity of reclaim to be getting on with. In terms of mexes, again, a fair amount, but it's not going to escalate too quickly because of the sheer amount of mass. So we're going to get moderate quantities of T1 P-Gens being put up, so they don't have to worry about their eco balance too much in the early game. 3 minutes and 40 seconds done so far. Zigster coming out from his base, working on a couple of naval yards as well. Definitely, as we've already said, it's going to be a huge feature. We have one ACU MILF Hunter on his Todd, by the looks of things, heading towards the central island. Maybe his first waypoint, his only waypoint. They're just placed on the other side of the midpoint of the channel between his island and the central island. It's probably going to be very hard, it has to be said, like many of these maps, to hold this middle island for too long, because you can imagine all of these islands are going to have vast fleets and lots of UEF kicking around. That means lots of governors, lots of long-range missile ships, and that means little mech points over here on the peninsulas, and indeed even further in, might well be under threat and under pressure. But we'll see. Every game's unique after all. First few transports inbound now with some engineers. I don't know why we're still on -2. We can afford to beef that up now. One getting dropped off there for not sulfur, and another one here for sulfur down on the bottom edge. In fact, both of those guys going pretty heavy. It looked like about 5 engineers apiece on board each transport. We already have engineers on the ground scooping up mass here for MILF Hunter, and another transport up here. Looks like some more engineers on board, and at least 1 or 2 labs as well, potentially. So we've got a kind of a little bit of ghetto gunship going on. That's not a full commitment to the ghetto gunship, but it's like just a couple of rude boys with their guns hanging out the sides of those transports. Not a full contingent, certainly. And another group of NGs moving in from Tag Seaton. I'm guessing that was transported and dropped off halfway. Indeed it was. There's a chariot returning home. Interceptors and scout planes tangle over the middle island. That little battle is between Tag Seaton there and Sulfur. And it looks like that's probably going to go better for Sulfur. Highest rated players, incidentally, in this game are MILF Hunter at 1535 for Team 2. And then we've got a couple of 1500s, not Sulfur and Sulfur. That's the purple there and the blue there for Team 1. Ever so slightly more condensed, 2 condensed pros and then 2 lower order condensed Joes. Zigster is the lowest rated player today at 1131. Then we've got a couple of 1400s at Tag Seaton and Nor York. I suppose you could make the argument that this is technically an average Joe's, since the average rating of the 2 teams is below 1500, that arbitrary cutoff that we've assigned here at Guilecast. But I don't know, 3 pros in here. I prefer not to label it. Just keep it freeform, if you will. Interceptors getting into it on the skies above Zigster's naval yard. A royal mess there is brewing over here as another T1 bomber comes in. Oh, that's a lovely bombing run from H Master. Takes out about 3 engineers, gets himself shot down in the process, but in come a couple of subs and a frigate as well, and that's a quick early denial on Zigster's naval yard. Does he have any more up and running around here? Not as yet, although there are engineers planning some right at the back there. And there we go, our first one on that second set under construction in much safer waters, it has to be said. And immediately, without thinking, those subs start relocating, I'm guessing looking for the inevitable naval yards that will popped up around this side of things. What's happening elsewhere on the map? We've also got not Sulfur from Team 1 just strolling right up balls out, but not all the way out because they're still under the water. Reclaiming, hoovering up that naval yard there belonging to New York. There's still another one over here. New York wants to counter this by getting a torpedo launcher up and running. Has already got one of his own frigates to help guard these waters, but not Sulfur, not remotely perturbed about the impending completion of that torpedo launcher, and successfully hoovers up that naval yard. So that's 2 denials inflicted on Team 2 by Team 1 there. Nice early start. You look at the contrast between this picture and what's happening over here. 5 functional naval yards up and running there for Not Sulfur, and a whole bunch of frigates out in the water around them already. 5 of them to be precise. And they can trundle on over here and make life difficult, but we do have another new naval yard up and running already for New York. He's not giving up on this plan. As well he shouldn't, because as we've said, it's going to be absolutely vital in this game to establish a firm command of the waters. If you can get control, it's probably game over, that's for certain. What have we got there? Not Sulfur working on his 4th naval yard. And what's happening on the middle island, we've actually got a new set of naval yards that have appeared for Zigster right off the beaches in the center over here. It's pretty aggressive placement, but I guess it was somewhere that had to be selected because of the proximity to its ACU at the time. Zigster rolled out here across the channel with his comm and just spammed those up. But on the actual island itself, we do have MILF Hunter. He's working on his 2nd land factory. We've got 2 land factories complete up here for Not Sulfur. A 3rd one that was started but has been abandoned for the time being. We've got another one complete on the beach, and more transports bringing in build capacity all the time by the looks of things for Sulfur. He's going to airlift right up onto the midpoint. Lots and lots of mass to be hoovered up there, and 4 mass points will go to the winner as well. Some harassing Lobos sent in towards MILF Hunter, but he's lying in wait with his commander, and may have lost 1 or 2 little units here, but nothing to worry about. Those factories still at full health. Little bombing run on the cards up at the top of the screen over here. Zigster still under pressure, but a couple of frigates and 1 sub, not enough to concern him too much, I think it's fair to say. Not Sulfur with his commander now under the next naval yard here. In fact, we had 3 naval yards here for Zigster, and we are down to just 1. It's very much Operation Get Yourself Wet and Go Scoopy Scoopy. That is the official military designation for this operation. Doesn't roll off the tongue. There were some concerns about it on the war PR office. Didn't think the public would be overly enamored, but they spent all of the budget on new Lobos, unfortunately. Had to get a whole bunch of undergrads in to manage the marketing campaign. MILF Hunter hoovering those up, though, without too much difficulty. Sulfur dipping his toe onto the sands there and harassing the forward land factory along with those Lobos. That land factory for MILF Hunter still with some 500 hit points on the clock. And now MILF Hunter with his upgraded gun is going to go on the offensive against Sulfur, who's been expanding out into the center of this middle island here. Bunch of low order T1 spam standing guard. Is MILF Hunter going to stick around and try and shut this down completely? Nice kill there. Finishes off the engineer working on a radar, so denying intel coverage to the center as we zoom out and just get a better idea of what's happening further afield. So look at this naval pressure inbound from Team 1 against Zigster and MILF Hunter's main base. We've also got our first T2 vessel that I've seen, a Barracuda from H-Master. That's going to be a major headache for Zigster and MILF Hunter. What's happening down here at the bottom? Another set of naval yards aggressively placed, I think it's fair to say, for Not Sulfur down here at the bottom. Bunch of frigates and subs standing guard out front. But this is close proximity, of course, to Team 2's southern naval yards. Have a quick look at the eco side of things. 105k and 105k in terms of total mass accrued. These guys are neck and neck. Both these teams perfectly level in terms of total mass gathered so far. And a teeny tiny fluctuating advantage going one way, then t'other, then t'other. But looks like settling more persistently in Team 1's favor than in Team 2's. And then drifting the other way. Curse of the commentator comes in, but suffice to say, there's very little to choose between these two teams right now. In terms of eco, both very evenly matched. What's this in the mini-map down here? Saucy little transport laden with looks like some Lobo spam, potentially. Indeed it is. 6 Lobos inbound on a slightly damaged courier. Where are they heading? Just coming in the back here to threaten these mexes. We've got one T2 mex over here. There is an eruptor, but of course they're not great at dealing with artillery, but it's not going to matter because it flew straight into a horde of interceptors. Very cunningly placed standing guard right at the back there. That is a drop that has not materialized any kind of advantage for Team 1 in the slightest. And I tell you what's going in Team 2's favor right now, and that is the naval battle in the Southern Ocean as naval yards going pop one by one. Not Sulfur suffering to this huge fleet of frigates. Has his comm nearby as well, but fortunately none of these vessels, barring the odd submarine over here, are torpedo capable. So he's able to evac his comm without too much pressure. We do have a destroyer inbound to help sort out this situation for Team 1. But goodness me, how many naval yards are they going to lose here? There's so many frigates. Little group of frigates for New York focusing down the naval yards. And the other larger fleet of Tag Seatons battling away against hostile warships. Nice little wave of torpedo bombers from New York. They really want to take down that destroyer, and indeed that is what they're targeting by the looks of things. One pass brings it down to about 60% health. In come the obligatory interceptors and their response. Sulfur and not sulfur. No, that's just not sulfur. Not sulfur. This is a nightmare, I tell you. A nightmare that's almost as bad as what Team 2 are facing right now in the Southern Ocean. Destroyer about to go down. Ouch! And now the second group of naval yards back here looking like they might be under threat. We've got more vessels joining this forward fleet. Of course, the further forward they push, the harder it is to reinforce those fleets and the easier it is to reinforce defensive fleets. Battle going in the other direction in the northern portion of the ocean. But not quite so clear-cut. H-Master struggling to score the same kind of breakthrough against Zigster that Tag Seaton and New York are getting over here in the south. Oh my goodness, just bring those in, surely. If they could kill off that T2 Naval HQ, that would be a huge bonus. What have we got here? So, rather than try and re-erect, and we should always try and re-erect, but rather than trying to re-erect them where they were, nice little drop to the bottom of the screen, well outside Team 2's projected sphere of intel coverage, and indeed you can see not currently showing up on the scopes there at all. We have one radar on the beach here for Tag Seaton, and that intel ring not covering the area where these new shipyards are going up for not sulfur. And now those vessels have been brought in for Tag Seaton. Can they finish off the HQ? Another destroyer gets completed. That becomes target priority number 1, as well it should be. HP plummeting fast as all of those frigates try and scrub that asset off the warboard. It hides behind the shipyard, giving itself a brief reprieve from inbound fire. But the shipyard is now down, and this is looking really bad down here. Having looked really positive right in the opening stages, how are they going to counter? Well, they've gone for T2 air and are now counter-attacking with a gunship assault on Noryork's naval yard. Noryork's quick to get some air defenses in play, but they are prioritized. However, only one gunship remains, and now those escorting interceptors just find themselves in harm's way for no good reason. Another gunship crossing the water over in that direction. Meanwhile, though, we've been busy focusing on the fleets. The central island has more or less fallen to Sulfur's control. Sulfur with his comm right in the middle of that island. Torpedo bombers belonging to Zigster heading back against H-Master's fleet. There's also a lot of naval vessels from Team 2 joining the party. And this doesn't look like it's going to go well for Team 1 either, right at the top of the screen here. Not Sulfur starting T2 on the comm. Starting to see the shield boats come into play, though. That can often be a game changer. And I think a wise move from Tag Seaton, a consolidatory withdrawal here. Bring your vessels back. Look at this, though. Saucy little engineer incursion over here. Gets a whole bunch of T1 PDs up and running, and some T1 anti-air turrets as well. Love that move from Tag Seaton. Down goes a core T2 mechs. Down goes the shield gen. And goodness knows what else. Although not Sulfur quick to move in with the commander. I'm wondering where he was loitering. Perhaps further back here in the relatively safe waters of the lagoon. The Raptors focusing down the comm, taking as many hit points off as they can. Gunship brought to bear to eliminate this threat, but that's actually done a fair bit of damage. We've got 2 core mexes taken out, a factory gone. Was that a T2 land factory HQ? Might well have been. T2 upgrade nearly complete for Not Sulfur. It's Not Sulfur in the center of the map. And Sulfur working on a little Klinkhammer fire base right in the middle. Getting that artillery piece up and running first and then working on a shield. MILF Hunter's brought his commander out onto the eastern peninsula. Looking a little bit isolated there, I think it's fair to say. Especially with a large group of Lobos bearing down on him. But Zigster is standing in the shallows over here with his commando. He's going to chop those down to size. MILF Hunter brought out. MILF Hunter was drawing a little bit of fire from that T2 artillery piece, but it's going to be within inside minimal range before too long if he carries on. Oh, direct hit more or less. MILF Hunter on around 11,300 hit points. Still the inevitable jockeying for position. Look at the fleet that's building up down here, and look at the sheer number of shipyards as well, which apparently still unnoticed by Team 2. This could be a critical flaw in their game plan. If a massive fleet suddenly sails north, and not only just any old fleet, if you can get a T2 fleet together and put pressure on these bases, that might be the end of the game right there. But look at this from MILF Hunter. Doesn't like the notion of an artillery piece there. It's rolled up with his commander, took down the shield gen, damaged the clink hammer, and then taking it out. Sulfur, not standing for any of this, is determined to shoo him away. Throws down a plasma cannon. Needs to be very careful here. Not Sulfur's turned up. There's lots of triads that are in range as well. Oh dear me. MILF Hunter withdrawing in vain towards the sea. Not gonna make it. GG goes out, and our first ejection's actually from a Team 2. Now is full share on. How manly is this game? Of course full share is on, so not very manly at all is the answer to that question. The fleet in the south has made its move after that ejection. Maybe a little too early, but perhaps it was discovered. Yeah, it all very much appears to be on the cards now. We have a... what is that? Is T3 sonar? Is that what's creating? No, there should be a radar somewhere. Is that it? Maybe that's it. That's pinging out those signatures. And now what looked like it could have been a game-winning play a little while ago if it was allowed to persist for a bit longer is getting mobbed. However, that's massively alleviated the pressure around Team 1's southern island. Tag Seaton redirecting the entirety of his fleet to shut this threat down before it gets any worse. Lots of frigates still being produced here, and there's still a lot of operational naval yards, and we do in fact have T2 Naval HQ over here working on destroyers. But it's just a little too late. If he could have been a few minutes further ahead, might have had some interesting play out of that. We've also got some counter pressure just south of the middle island over here, going up towards Tag Seaton's main naval yards. But I think he's got enough naval power in this little harbour area to defend against this. There's not that much inbound pressure. In fact, I'm wondering where it's all going. Are they overcommitting to stuff, to land-based buildings? Currently trying to get T2 power up and running. You can see Tag Seaton already putting out 4.1k power. Compare that to Sulfur, who's putting out 2.8k. So some ways to go. So Tag Seaton, in terms of generated ecos, on 269. Everybody else is in the 150, 117 range, 140 range. Tag Seaton absolutely flying. If that's legitimate and not reclaim affected. In terms of total mass accrued, he's on 142k. Next highest is Sulfur at 131, but that is going to widen that gap dramatically. Tag Seaton surely going to be able to outproduce everybody with that kind of eco. 4 of the 5 front naval yards down and out. The main long row at the back still in play. We've got a couple of frigates down here loitering and another contingent heading south. The heavily T2 comprised naval force left by the central island there. What's happening up north? Not a lot. This fight has been raging an awful lot, and they haven't been able to oust Zigster. We do have a nice little wolf pack of Barracudas belonging to H Master. It's taken down 3 naval yards up here. But this battle has been very static compared to the movement we've seen in the bottom section of the map. Got a second naval yard up to T2, but he's not going to be able to produce anything out of it. That is definitely the end of that little threat. These vessels will then be redirected to this battle up here, which is not before time because it's starting to look a little bit dicey for Team 2. Lots and lots of destroyers here for Sulfur. Let's do a quick T2 vessel count. 8 of them for Sulfur. Seaton has 9, so he's not doing too badly, but he's definitely behind on the frigate count. Quick glance at the vessels would tell you that right off the bat. But they are taking a lot of Stork torpedo bomber fire as well from New York. We need to kill the battle cruiser, so there's a battle cruiser up here for Tag Seaton, who's actually redirected a large amount of his force to assist in the top ocean, so maybe that's why the battle isn't going so well. He has, of course, inherited everything over here, so yeah, the battle cruiser, of course, being UEF, not produced at all ever out of the Aeon shipyards down here, so not really so much of a redirect. Just him handling the fight on 2 fronts, but still, that battle cruiser, that's the correct assumption right now by H-Master. It's absolutely killing them. 21 kills so far. Give you an idea of the difference there. Some of the values in the little counter. I don't think they're always right. I don't think total DPS can be anywhere near right for the battle cruiser. But anyway, those vessels sailing up towards H-Master's naval yards and pushing back on 2 fronts. Tag Seaton absolutely schooling his opponents right now. And of course, it's just occurred to me as well why those totals would have been so much higher. He is, of course, sitting on MILF Hunter's old base as well. But still, either way you look at it, he is dominating the opposition right now with a wonderful pushback up at the top. He killed off the threat down here at the bottom, but we have some cheekiness brewing down here from Team 1. A large drop from Sulfur, a whole bunch of Lobos. They're going to make landfall. There is an Eruptor over here, which they need to steer well clear of if they can. We've also got some Stingers, some T2 gunships loitering for an angle and a target of opportunity. Some Cyclones being dispatched to give them some cover. Good thing too, those Stingers wouldn't last long against those patrolling interceptors of New York's. But it's funny, isn't it? So you'd think they would be all over this Team 1. They're sitting on the forward island here for H-Master. They've got entire control of the central island, and they're sitting on this little island down here. In terms of map control, easily sitting on 60+%, I think, of the resources. But it's not exactly going their way as yet. Looks of things, Tag Seaton's not planning to get any of these vessels back. This was a one-way ticket. He's gone in, he's smashed naval production for H-Master. But that battle cruiser and those frigates slowly getting tickled to death by those torpedo bombers. Another little drop over here. Gets the transport shot down, but 2 Lobos make landfall. And the first Lobo drop pushing further in towards the main base. Going to take down a T2 mechs over there. Tag Seaton, is he power locked? No, he's not. And he's down to 210 mass per tick. So he's taken a bit of a battering recently. He was up in the 280s a moment ago. Assuming, of course, caveat that that's not or wasn't reclaim related. 18 kills on that Neptune. Then it all goes a little bit quiet. 32 minutes down. Eco-wise, wow. Okay, so Team 1 have inched ahead in total mass accrued by 4K. But look at the difference now. 635 in terms of generated eco versus 388. That is enormous. Massive eco advantage for the moment, for the time being, sits with Team 1. Question is, can they translate it into offensive weaponry and take the fight to Team 2? Nice little TAC missile launcher in the main base. Might not be there for much longer, but it's got 10 kills to its name. Probably been harassing Zigster on his island over here for a while now. Nice little drop of Medusas going after the main base for Zigster. T2 mass extractor bearing the brunt of that inbound fire. In fact, two of them taking a lot of damage, but thanks to not having properly concentrated fire, both of those extractors will survive. A little bit of a shame there for H-Master, but he is very, very busy orchestrating drops all over the place by the looks of things. Another one inbound right to the top. This battle has just been non-stop. Another 12 or so, maybe, well, 18 originally. Medusas sent to the top of that northeast island. And Not Sulfur just spamming up naval yards relentlessly, thinking if he can build enough, eventually they'll run out of ammunition. Unfortunately, that's not the way the game works. Someone should tell him. This is the thing, you can build all of the T1 tinfoil naval yards you like, but when it's right in front of a massive, overwhelming force that contains battleships, no less. We've got a couple of Omen-class battleships here. We've got a couple of Neptune-class battle cruisers belonging to Noryork. And now, this main base of Not Sulfur and Sulfur could be in real trouble here. I don't know why they're not just sailing those Omens right into the bay. They'd be able to hit all of this, all of which is unshielded. You can see some shields queued up. But I can't quite believe this. Look at this massive, massive eco advantage, but they're just not able to pump out enough units to contain, well, essentially contain Tag Seaton. Zigster has transferred everything over to Seaton and is currently maneuvering, meandering his way underwater with his commander towards the central island, presumably on some sort of suicide run. Well, he's stopping around about there. Sulfur's comm back over here in safe territory. I really don't know why he's not sending at least one battleship over here. I know he's concerned about this, but I just don't know how you have the discipline, if it is discipline, if it works out that way, to not try and go after some of the base. I guess he's happy with the destructive capabilities of the battle cruisers, and to be fair, their range more than good enough to take out the entirety of Not Sulfur's base. All he's got left is a couple of T2 reactors and a T1 air factory in that main base, and then some resourcing options back here. What has that done to the mass distribution in this game, the mass harvesting? Well, Team 1's still massively in the lead. Not Sulfur up here, pulling in the lion's share at 311. And Sulfur, whose base hasn't been destroyed yet, on 206. But now, with these omens, you can have a look at what these bad boys can hit. With those massive artillery cannons. If they sail in here, or indeed if they'd sailed in here, they could have certainly put damage to half of the base. But I guess there's plenty of time for it. Tag Seaton happy not to rush things. And you know what? Sometimes that's just the secret. Carefully beat the opponent down and maneuver your way in. And then destroy the base when you've taken out everything else. Don't always have to be going for the crippling blow. Giving your teammates, or your opponents, sorry, not your teammates, your opponents time to build up unit numbers at other manufacturing locations like over here and then hit back at you. But that is not what's going to happen today by the looks of things. Tag Seaton just rolling into this bay area over here belonging to Sulfur and smashing down these naval yards. Torpedo bombers doing their level best to counter this threat, but too much damage and too many hit points. Down goes another naval headquarters. We actually have a T3 naval HQ right at the back here belonging to Not Sulfur. He's working on a battle cruiser. But this is looking really bad for Team 1, who are still in the lead in generated eco. This is extraordinary. And it's not a small margin they are up by, but they just haven't been able to translate it into vessel production. They're too far behind. Tag Seaton seems to have amassed a critical mass of naval vessels. A mass effect, if you will. Boom, psh, thank you, I'll be here all week. Get those into position so that their ordnance can land. That would be useful. So many torpedo bombers. Are they starting to get a handle on the situation? Not really. It doesn't seem that way, it has to be said. And the gunships have cleared out this little island down here. New York eliminating Not Sulfur on that little side island. This island up here, which had been responsible for lobbing TAC missiles at Zigster, that's been more or less obliterated. Not currently conquered, though. I don't think they even need to worry about expansion on that side of things. They just need to keep up this naval pressure, and they're going to bombard Team 1 into submission. Sulfur pulling his commander out into the main channel. Interesting decision. What have we got going on over here? Like an air headquarters that just went down. Engineers hurriedly working on anti-air defense. But there's so many gunships here. It's going to be hard to achieve. And yeah, if they lose control of all air as well, that really will be the end of the game. 40 minutes gone so far, and Team 2 have finally taken the lead in mass total, 608 to 502. That is a massive swing in a relatively short space of time. I think it's about 8 to 10 minutes or something like that. We've seen it go from sort of a 700 to a 700 versus 500 to a 600 versus a 500 in the opposite direction. That's pretty huge. So many T3 vessels here for Tag Seaton. Bulwark shield boat can't keep up with the inbound fire. Shield collapses. 2 summits and a battle cruiser over here. Now looking a little bit vulnerable. Tag Seaton needs to bring in a more cohesive formation to engage this, though. If he can roll in and finish off these shipyards, he can lay the smack down on that forward base and do to not Sulfur what he did, or do to not Sulfur, sorry, what he did to not Sulfur down in the south. I'm very excited about this game being over, so I don't have to partake in this naming farce any longer. And thanks to Tag Seaton, I think it's only going in one direction. Team Sulfur getting your comeuppance for your absurd naming scheme. Down goes the HQ. The GG goes out from Not Sulfur, and there's our first Control K. Or is it? Was it actually a Neptune-class battlecruiser to the face? Either way, it's pretty academic. The GGs go out all round. The Control Ks are soon to follow. And there's no question who the MVP is in this one. It is Tag Seaton all the way. Just Sulfur and H-Master remain. Are they going to see it out? Or are they going to go out like a gentleman? Why do they say that? As if suicide was gentlemanly. Last of the T3 vessels belonging to Team 1 goes down. There is another one that's about to complete up there, but that's not going to save Sulfur from pressing that big red button on the dashboard, or indeed possibly getting shot down or taken out by torpedo bombers. One or t'other. And that, as they say, seems to be that. That might have been... was that Zigster finally going pop? Quite possibly. Who can say, but what an absolute mess this was. And there's H-Master's Control K. That one definitely was a Control K. We don't always know. That Notify mod isn't always accurate, so it comes up Control K, and we don't always know. But a bunch of them were for sure, I think it's fair to say. And can you blame them? Tag Seaton played an absolute blinder, taking nothing away from everybody else on Team 2. Except, of course, MILF Hunter, who I guess he found what he's looking for. You know, that hot mum went home for some Netflix and chill. Let's hope the kid's asleep. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it, guys. There's always more to come from me in the future. Don't forget, please, please, please check out the Patreon. We've got some, I don't know, 53 casts so far. It's growing all the time, and you'll also get access to the Discord for a mere $1 a month. All that content as well on top of it. It's an excellent, excellent use of your funds, believe me. And it really does help support me in the channel and by extension the community. So do consider it, guys, if you don't already. And I hope to see you later. Until next time, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.